Welcome to the Avenue's special monthly broadcast of August Haven Live. I am Steve March Torme. This is our monthly show dedicated to taking a deeper dive into an independent artist and their music. So our original concept was an on-location broadcast and performance at August Haven's Appleton location, where the community gathered to enjoy friends and music and all the finer things in life as curated by August Haven. And we are looking forward to the time when we'll be together again at August Haven. Until then, we will bring all the music and the interviews to you through the radio. So keep it tuned right here. We'll be with you till 7 p.m. And it's all made possible by August Haven. Today, our guest is Matthew Szlachetka. The Nashville-based singer-songwriter is well known in our community. We first met him during Mile of Music, where he quickly attracted an enthusiastic fan base. Szlachetka's sound is described as Americana music imbued with the exaltation and resilience of classic Bruce Springsteen, while delivering the humanity and warmth of John Prine's best songwriting. That's from Shakedown News. Welcome back to the Avenue, Matthew. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, Steve. Thanks so much for having me on. It's really a pleasure. It's great to be back with you guys at 91.1 The Avenue. And I'll tell you what, I've really been missing Appleton this year. It's been a pretty crazy year.
Normally, we'd have a chance to catch up with you from the couch at Copper Rock as part of our live broadcast from Mile of Music, but well, as we both know, 2020 hasn't been what any of us expected. So how are you? How have you been holding up this year?
Given that we're in a pandemic right now, I think I'm holding up pretty well. I definitely am incredibly fortunate for so many things in my life. And, it's just a moment for all of us to kind of take a step back and slow down for a little bit to take a pause. And it's been great to kind of catch up on some things around the house and stuff like that. So
you've maintained a very good connection with your fans through live stream performances, and besides the virtual tip jar and merchandise sales, what else have you been doing in 2020 to stay afloat?
Yeah, the Facebook live shows have been great. I knew right from the get-go that was going to be the thing to do this year, given the fact that, the entire year was canceled. It's been so great to be able to still, virtually stay connected to the fans, and it's been a really great sense of accountability as well. I think mentally for me, it's been so important to have like an objective or to feel like you still have a purpose, and it's held me accountable every week, and it's really pushed me each week because every show has been different. I've never done the same set list twice, and it's been great because I've been able to learn either cover songs that I've always wanted to learn but never had time, or just stuff like that. So the song catalog has gotten significantly larger, and it's just been a great way to just push myself each week.
So for anyone interested in a guitar lesson or some vinyl, check out szlachetkamusic.com or find Szlachetka on Facebook. And of course, you can catch Matthew's live streams on social media.
The tips and donations that viewers have given each week has been amazing. It's been incredibly humbling to have that much support each week. And, they've really helped me stay afloat and keep me going. It's another reason why I've felt so much responsibility for those shows. I don't ever want to fly anything in, and so that's why every show has had a completely different set list. And I've been honoring requests, whether they're original songs or cover songs. And, it's been great. Aside from the Facebook live shows, I've been doing a lot of virtual guitar lessons. I've been picking up more students, and that's been a lot of fun. I'm still picking up more, so if you're interested in guitar lessons, just give me a shout. We'd love to help out. I've also been doing a lot of mobile session work for people, either recording acoustic or electric guitar tracks or vocals, and it's been fun. Over the past 6 or 7 months, I've submitted tracks for a few different albums, some demos, some singles. That's been great. And aside from actually, performing and stuff like that, I'm a huge record collector, and my collection personally is always growing. I'm finding less and less room for myself in my house. But one thing that I've done, and it's actually become a really, really passionate and fun side hustle, is I've been buying and selling a lot of records and vintage hi-fi gear. I'm always coming into new records each week. I've got my different sources throughout Nashville and throughout the general area around Nashville and Middle Tennessee. And it's been just a great way to stay connected with people as well. If you have a wish list, definitely send it to me or hit me up. I've been doing regular video posts on my personal Facebook page about new inventory that I come in contact with. So I'm always posting on my personal Facebook page, and then on my Instagram stories, I'll usually post videos of the latest vinyl score that I'm getting ready to sell. So.
We're speaking with Matthew Szlachetka. I am SMT. This is August Haven Live, the virtual edition on 91.1 The Avenue. We are here until 7 p.m. with more interviews and music, including a performance set from Szlachetka in our 5 o'clock hour. Listeners can go to avenueradio.com and click on the contest tab for a chance to win a CD from Szlachetka. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more in our next break. August Haven is a supporting partner of The Avenue. Let's take a listen to something from Szlachetka right now.
Rain fills the gutters, puddles on the ground, wood for the fire, wet leaves all around. Days in the kitchen, just home from school. First taste of brandy, never could follow no rules. We've gone divided, how time is strange. I'm wondering where you are. Come home for December, we can put your reggae on. Come home for December, we can sing a song. Nobody told you right from wrong. You left home early, and I'd wish I tagged along. We've grown divided, how time is strange. I'm wondering where you are. If I'd known your heartache was left alone, I'd taken the time to call. Come home for December, we can put your reggae on. Come home for December, we can sing a song. Come home for December, we can put your reggae on. Come home for December, we can sing a song. We can sing a song. We can sing a song.
Welcome back to the Avenue's special monthly broadcast of August Haven Live, the virtual edition. I'm SMT. Today I'm joined by Nashville singer-songwriter Matthew Szlachetka. So fans in Northeast Wisconsin got their introduction to you, I think, at Mile of Music in 2016, right? You were part of the Bose Troubadour Showcase, performances which have become some of the most beloved during Mile. So tell us about that.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about, but 2016 was my first year at Mile of Music, and I was completely blown away then, and I'm still blown away every time I play in Appleton. I always say if every town could be like Appleton, touring would be a whole different scenario. But man, every time I step foot in your town, it's such a special place, and the community you guys have is just it's few and far between. But yeah, the Bose Troubadour tour, that was a lot of fun. It'd be great to do it again sometime, but that was the inaugural tour where it was myself, Jamie Kent, Megan Slankard, and Jeff Campbell. And, it was so fun. I mean, we worked up, obviously, a bunch of our own songs and some covers going into the tour. So it was just like having a wall of sound. I mean, it's so amazing when you have, 3 other people singing with you, all with great voices, and just the harmonies we were able to come up with was incredible, and it's something that I will always cherish. And we just had some just really, really memorable shows, most notably at the chapel. I mean, the acoustics in that room are just incredible, and I mean, I still would put that show we did as one of my top live music experiences. And I mean, we did the same kind of thing the few years after that as well. It was always just a really special way to kind of end the festival. And sometimes we were a little bruised and beat up from 4 days straight of playing music and stuff like that, but it was always great. And like I said, it was just a real special moment.
And from there, your audience grew and grew, and you've been back to Appleton many times, including bringing your full band. Very different experience musically from your solo acoustic performances. So that must have been a lot of fun to have your full band with you.
And yeah, in 2018, when I was able to start bringing my full band up to Appleton, I mean, that was after I had moved from Los Angeles to Nashville. So it made it definitely more feasible to tour with a backing band. And especially just Nashville so strategically located between, hitting up the Midwest and hitting up parts of the South and the Northeast and stuff like that. So, I think a lot of people don't know how hard it is to tour in general and, make a living doing it. I mean, it's really easy to tour and, lose a lot of money, but to tour and then, actually come home, with money that you can put away and money you can pay your bills with and stuff like that it's pretty hard to do. And, for me, anytime I break into a new market, I usually always have to do it solo acoustic first. And that's what I did with Appleton for, I think, 2 to 3 years before I was able to start bringing the full band up there. And for me, I was able to play in Appleton 3 times that year. And the first time we did kind of like the mile preview where they announced like the first chunk of performers that were going to be in the festival. And so we went up and played the Outer Edge stage, and that was just incredible. I mean, I think there were probably around 300 people in that show. And, it's so rewarding to be able to play a show that has, more of the production that you put into an album, and the difference is like when you're just playing new markets and stuff like that, you have to play solo acoustic or a more condensed, stripped down version of what you do just to make it economically feasible. But to be able to bring more of the full band, which is at least how I produce my records, is just so fulfilling, and it's always interesting to have a fully produced album playing a solo acoustic show, because a lot of people, a lot of time, expect you to have something that's representative, but, they don't realize too, just the expenses that are incurred for touring. And, a lot of people too assumed that I had, somebody else play electric guitar and be like, no, that was me playing all of the guitar parts, but I'm just, breaking into a new market right now, so I have to play solo acoustic. And, that year for me was so special. Coming into Mile that year as well, I was so honored they made me the ambassador to the festival that year. So we did a lot of extra shows for sponsors, and we got there like the full week before the festival started, and it was just so much fun, and just really connecting with the audience and the community. It was amazing, and we had just some wonderful, wonderful shows that tour. And then later that year, I think we capped off the year, we did a sold out show at Stone Arch, if I can remember correctly. But doing the full band show, it's you always want to play a rock and roll show, and it's just for me, I love both, but being a guitar player first, I think that doing the full band electric show is definitely what I gravitate more towards. It's I'm not ashamed to say at all, but I always love to rock out. So
your song "Heart of My Hometown" has become kind of an anthem of sorts for the Mile of Music experience. So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Heart of My Hometown is a very special song for me as well. I wrote that with Jamie Kent, who is like family to me. We both grew up in the same part of Western Massachusetts. And, we grew up in a town similar to Appleton, has that, forever familiar Main Street. We both had like a small group of best friends growing up that, I'm sure a lot of you guys had as well. And, talking about definitely more similarities than differences, particularly in this country, and from one thing that I've noticed from touring all over this great country of ours, whether it's north, south, east, or west, is that all these towns that I would come across, all the people I would meet, they're just all so similar. And, little things here and there remind me of this town or that town or towns where I grew up, And I think particularly now, it's just such an important sentiment to remember is that we're way more similar than we're being made out to be right now. And I think the biggest thing that we need as a country right now is to keep conversations going, to be able to put your pride down and have a conversation with somebody, even if you both don't agree 100% on all the issues. It's so important, in my opinion, to just have that conversation and try to bridge the gap and find a middle ground, because I can guarantee you that, probably most of the time that's going to be able to happen between two people, and that's why that song is so special for me because, no matter where you go, you're from somewhere. And, even if you have a situation where you're trying to get away where you're from, there's always going to be that place where you're from embedded in you. And that's a really important thing.
This is 91.1 The Avenue's August Haven live broadcast. I am Steve March Torme. Remember to go to avenueradio.com and click on the contest tab for a chance to win a CD from Szlachetka. We'll be back with more interviews and live music until 7 p.m. August Haven is a supporting partner of The Avenue. Let's take a listen to Heart of My Hometown right now.
Farewell to the love forged in this crown. Farewell, don't look back, just make them proud. Can you feel it? I can feel it, restless bones aching for a change. I can hear it, yes, I can hear it whisper softly, pulling me away. I can fight it, can never fight it, haunted like the house that once built me. Farewell to the love forged in this ground. Farewell, don't look back, just make them proud. No matter where I go, can't let go to the heart of my hometown. Converts, cops, and crowds cheer your name, king of the hour. Let's say some power, ready for a bigger pawn to claim. He keeps calling, yes, he keeps calling. The voice of Main Street echoes in my dreams. Farewell to the love force in this ground. Farewell, don't look back, just make them proud. No matter ground. Farewell, don't look back, just make them proud. Farewell to the love force in this ground. Farewell, don't look back, just make them proud. No matter where I go, can't let go to the heart of my hometown. No matter where I go, can't let go to the heart of my hometown. No matter where I go, can't let go to the heart of my hometown.
This is Steve March Torme. You are listening to 91.1 The Avenue's special broadcast, August Haven Live, the virtual edition. We're back with Matthew Szlachetka. All right, so in the last break, we talked about your Mile of Music experience. Let's get a little background on your career. How'd you get started in music?
Yeah, so I got the music bug really early on in life. I can't remember a time where there wasn't music being played on the radio, or a record, wasn't spinning, or a CD or a tape wasn't playing. My parents had that stuff playing all the time, 24/7. And if music wasn't being played, they had like NPR on or something like that, And I mean, wide range of styles, from classical to country to jazz, blues, rock and roll. And so I just was engulfed in a lot of different music, and I just fell in love with it early on. And first chance I got to play an instrument, I did. I played cello for a few years, and then I think about 2 years maybe playing cello. I put it down for a little bit, and I started playing guitar when I was in 7th grade, and I just always loved it. At the time, I was just really into blues and classic rock, and there was a time growing up where it was music and sports kind of that were at an equal stance, But then once I got to college, I ended up becoming a music major, and music took priority, and I stopped playing sports in college and just focused solely on music. And I knew that just music's what I wanted to do. And so I graduated, moved home for about 4 to 5 months, worked 2 jobs just to save a nest egg. And I moved out to California. I moved to San Diego first for 4 years, just because I knew some people there from home, and I needed a place to kind of get my feet wet. And I still needed, some musical experience under my belt just to cut my teeth, and just did that as much as I could. I went to like every open mic, tried to book every gig I could, learned how to record because I didn't really have much experience in that before. And I learned, how to just start writing more cohesive songs and stuff. Because, in college and before that, I was just solely focused on guitar more so. And it wasn't towards almost the end of college where I started to, dabble with writing songs, and I started to dabble with developing my voice a little bit more. And, by the time I moved to Los Angeles in 2016, I was going up there regularly for session work and for gigs and for writing sessions with other artists, and spent 12 years there. And, by the time I moved up there, I was doing music full time between teaching guitar lessons and gigging and doing session work and touring and stuff. And kind of the same principle of me moving to Nashville back in 2017. I moved to Nashville after I was coming out here regularly for gigs, writing sessions, and session work and stuff. And, I just kind of always had tunnel vision in terms of what I wanted to do. I can't imagine doing anything else, really.
And now you're in Nashville, along with so many other artists who are favorites to our listeners. Jamie Kent, Smoothhound Smith, let's see who else, Sarah Potenza, Aaron Lee Tasjan. It's a long list. So what are the benefits to being in Nashville for you and your music?
Yeah, that is a fantastic list of artists and bands right there. That just how amazing that list is right there just sums up the caliber of Nashville. I mean, it's so humbling to be here, and it's so inspiring to be here because everybody is good here. The joke is, even your cab driver's a better guitar player than you in Nashville. The benefits of living in Nashville are just huge. From affordability. I was able to buy a house here, which is just so amazing for me. And it's just LA. I love LA. I always will, but it's not what it used to be, in my opinion, in terms of the music scene, and just it's so expensive to live there. So living in Nashville as an artist allows you to have the balance of both the artist life and then kind of like a more normal kind of life where you can have a home life. You can, cut your lawn, you can garden, you can have a house, you can commute, you can do all these things. But aside from that, the artist and music community in Nashville is just amazing. Some of the best writers and players in the world are here, and just to collaborate with people just makes you better, and it keeps you on the top of your game. And on the other aspect of that, Nashville is just so centrally located in this country where it's so strategic to tour. You can drive 3 to 5 hours in any direction from Nashville and hit up so many other amazing markets, which, especially getting back to what I was talking about before, that single-handedly allowed me to start touring more frequently with a full band versus always having to tour solo acoustic, because of, my ridiculous overhead living expenses, which is more so what Los Angeles was presenting to me. I've definitely become a better songwriter, guitar player, and singer and artist from being here and just being exposed to so much greatness, so I'm just so grateful for it.
That's the voice of Matthew Szlachetka. I'm SMT. You are listening to 91.1 The Avenue. Stick around. There's more August Haven Live, the virtual edition with Szlachetka, coming up, including a performance set at 5 p.m. Listeners can go to avenueradio.com and click on the contest tab for a chance to win a CD. August Haven is a supporting partner of The Avenue. Now here's a song from Matthew Szlachetka.
I was young, sounds I heard as the record played on, voices so clear took hold of my hand and hit me so hard I could barely stand. The voices that carried me are with me when I feel alone, learning from what they said. Songs from the past in my head. Some came loud and bold as love to Halifax Bay in a boat off its shore. Times were changing, new lessons taught, sounds of the tides, the influence they brought, the voices that carry me on, with me when I feel alone, learning from what they said. Songs from the past, collected like fables, messages sent to come back when you always need them the most. Music that speaks to you, close to your heart, is the same as a lover, you never want to leave. 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 Hey, hey, the voices that carry me home are with me where I feel alone, learning from what they say, songs from the past in my head.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Avenue's special monthly broadcast of August Haven Live, the virtual edition. If you're just joining us, you might know this as the time of the month that we'd normally be gathered at August Haven to enjoy some live music and August Haven's famous hospitality. Like all of you, we've had to make some adjustments to our routine, but we're still able to gather around the radio for a visit with some very talented musicians, thanks to our friends at August Haven. Joining us today from Nashville, Matthew Szlachetka. Matthew, take it away.
Here's the latest single that just came out. It's a song called Cutting the Fire Lines.
Last night our innocence went up in flames, caught us in our sleep, and we'll never be the same. Now there's mountains burning on both sides, bruised horizon, sign of the times. Don't light a candle for me, ain't nothing else here to see anymore. Just a ghost of California, never knew it was here till it was gone. Now we're cutting the fire lines again. Lost to pride, you couldn't put out what was burning us inside. You could pray for rain, I could pray for yesterday. If the sky came crying, it would be a day too late. Don't shed no tears for me, ain't nothing else here to see anymore. Just a ghost of California, never knew it was here till it was gone. Now we're cutting the fire lines again. Now we're cutting the fire lines again. To see anymore. Just a ghost of California, never knew it was here till it was gone. Now we're cutting the fire lines again. Now we're cut in the fire lines again.
All right, here's another one of the singles that came out this year. This song is called Lifeboat, and it was inspired by the 12 years I spent living in Los Angeles.
I miss the sound of waking up to the mariachi. I miss the song of the ice cream man up on the hill. I miss the herds of cats running around my doorstep, but never drinking out of my bowl of milk. I guess I finally have to let go of this lifeboat, 'cause there's another ship waiting to set sail. I know I miss the beaches and the soul of the dirty concrete, but I'm leaving California all by myself. I came from the country, tried to make it work, and gave it all I had, and dug my hands into the dirt. I walked down the pier and into the empty ocean, taste the smell of the smog going round on the carousel. I guess I finally have to let go of this lifeboat, but I'm leaving California all by myself. I'm going to the country and gonna try to make it work, and give it all I have, dig my hands into the dirt. I miss the sound of you saying my name in that empty apartment, your arm reaching out for tequila on the shelf. I miss the way that you held me in that lifeboat, but I'm leaving California all by myself. I had to leave California all by myself.
All right, this was the third single that was released this year. The song's called Earthquake.
Gotta get together, build this world better. Gotta get together, build this world better. Gotta get together, build this world better. Gotta get together and build this world better. Can you feel the waves rolling this way now? The sky is crying and the mountains coming down. The birds are flying and the dogs have all run off. Nothing is found if nothing is ever lost. foundation we're buried in the past. Better love your neighbors, they're all you got left. And that's the only way we'll ever clean up this mess. Earthquake, when the land turns to sand beneath your feet. Earthquake, take what's left, build a whole new thing. Earthquake, heroes ain't afraid to own a mistake. No matter how long it takes, it's our word to shake. Earthquake. Gotta get together, build this world better. Gotta get together, build this world better. Gotta get together, build this world better. Gotta get together and build this world better. Earthquake, when the land turns to sand beneath your feet. Earthquake, take what's left, build a whole new thing. Heroes ain't afraid to own a mistake. No matter how long it takes, it's our word to shake. Earthquake. Gotta get together, build this world better.
All right, this is the first song that came out this year, back in May. This is a song called Bullet Through the Wind.
Sometimes I feel my life is looking straight down a barrel of a gun pressed to my head. That voice buried deep inside, whispering, no you can't, you'll never amount to nothing. Oh, with my two eyes ahead like a bullet through the wind, I go on and I'm never looking back. Oh, with my two eyes ahead like a bullet through the wind, I go on and I'm never turning back. I married my mistakes a long time ago. They've carried me, they haunted me, I know. You live and learn through years of love and loss. But lately I'm finding through mistakes I've come across. Oh, with my two eyes ahead like a bullet through the wind, I go on and I'm never looking back. Oh, with my two eyes ahead like a bullet through the wind, I go on and I'm never turning back. Oh, I go on and I'm never turning back. hours ahead like a bullet through the wind. I go on and I'm never looking back. Oh, with my 2 hours ahead like a bullet through the wind. I go on and I'm never looking back. Oh, I go on and I'm never turning back. Oh, I go on and I'm never turning back.
All right, here's another one of the singles. The song is called Old Soul, and this is where the title of the album comes from. I named the album Young Heart, Old Soul after one of the lyrics in this song.
Long, long gone, forgot your home. Don't feel welcome anymore. Empty street, jagged key. Can't find the door where you belong. Drift away at the end of the day. You just wanna disappear, but you're not sure where to go. Young heart, old soul, there's a place for you here. There's a place for you here, old soul. Now it's time to watch you shine. Come together in the night. Legion halls, disco balls, calloused hands hold on tight. Drift away at the end of the day. You let yourself disappear, but you're not sure where to go. Young heart, old soul, there's a place for you here. There's a place for you here, old soul. There you are, far ahead, far behind. Fight in the light, in the dark. Swagger gently, the hustle and grind. Finding a new place to start. Drift away at the end of the day. You're sure to disappear, but you're not sure where to go. Young heart, old soul, there's a place for you here. There's a place for you here, old soul. Oh, so there's a place for you here. Oh, so.
There's a place for you here.
That was Matthew Szlachetka. I'm Steve March Tormey. You are listening to 91.1 The Avenue, your local independent listener-supported radio station. If you'd like a chance to win a Szlachetka CD, go to avenueradio.com and click on the contest tab to enter. We'll have more from Szlachetka in the next hour. August Haven is a supporting partner of The Avenue. I'm Steve March Tormé, and we are back with Matthew Szlachetka for our final hour of this August Haven live broadcast. So in the last hour, loved your live set, great stuff, including a lot of new material. You plan on releasing an album in a more traditional way, but, 2020 kind of knocked that sideways. So talk about your new music and how it's caused you to adapt to the times.
Yeah, so I was supposed to release this album, Young Heart, Old Soul, in the traditional sense. I had a bunch of stuff lined up in Appleton. That unfortunately didn't happen. But the album was supposed to come out July 31st, and I was going to do a more traditional roll-up where I was going to put out 3 to 5 singles leading up with the full release. And about a month into, the shutdown and quarantine and stuff like that, I just kind of realized that it wasn't looking good for touring this year. And at the same time, I didn't want to just sit on this album like I did for the Heart of My Hometown album. And that's a whole other story in itself. But basically, by the time Heart of My Hometown was officially released, it was almost 3 years after I had recorded that album. And not that I wasn't excited when that album finally came out, but I was nowhere near as excited as I should have been, because I've been playing those songs for 3 to 5 years, at least some of them. And I had already started selling the album a year prior just to start making my overhead back from the album. And so given that previous experience, I didn't want to repeat that. I wanted to be completely excited about this album because it's a very important album for me. I worked with one of my dear friends, Scott Underwood, who was a founding member and original drummer in the band Train. We've been working together for about 6 or 7 years now. We met through a mutual friend when I was living in Los Angeles, started writing together immediately and started doing a lot of session work together. My previous album, we wrote 2 songs, including the last single, which was Until That Echo. And we also wrote Dark Cloud Over Me. But he was also a major force and voice getting me to move to Nashville. And we'd been talking about doing a record together for a long time, and it just worked out where it was that time. And, for me, this album was important. The material was very current. It was timely, and it spoke to what's going on right now in this country. And aside from that, it also spoke greatly about, my relationship with my fiancée, Sarah, and she was an integral part in a lot of those songs. And she is the female voice singing harmonies on the album as well. And so I wanted to just be really excited about putting this album out. And so I completely rethought my release strategy, and I decided to go down the single route. And so starting in May, I started releasing a single every month and a half. And so with, Cutting the Fire Lines, which comes out tomorrow, November 20th, that would be the 5th single that I release this year. And so the first single was Bullet Through the Wind, second was Lifeboat, third was Earthquake, fourth was Old Soul, which is the song where the title of the album comes from. And then Cutting the Fire Lines, with those songs, not all of them, but some of them, I had specific merch items related with that. So that way I was still able to keep momentum going and keep, money coming in, and selling stuff and still building, gaining momentum from this. Each song also had way more content attached with it. So like each song has an official video, has a story behind the song video that I've created. And then a lot of other cool little tidbits. Like I did a guitar lesson video for Old Soul talking about the finger picking involved. So, one of the silver linings of this year, given the fact that we can't tour at all, is I have been able to put out way more content. I've been putting out way more like guitar woodshedding videos. I've been putting out way more, cover song videos. And it's been very beneficial. I've definitely experienced a lot of growth online from putting out that content. And, it's content that I always wanted to put out, but I just never had time because I was always on the road. I would, every year I'd do anywhere from 150 to 200 shows across the country. And, when I'd be home for like a couple of days, I would never have time to do that. I'd have to do stuff around the house or take care of the yard or, take meetings or have writing sessions or recording sessions for other artists and bands in town. So it's given me that time to really kind of develop even more of my presence, which has been awesome. And, by doing that and not putting an entire collection of songs all out at once, it's allowed even more people to really digest it a song at a time. And so I think I've been able to get more exposure that way. I feel fortunate. I've had a really great amount of press for each single as they've come out. And so, after Cutting the Fire Lines comes out, I'm going to kind of close shop for a couple months and then start up the whole process again, probably in February. And I'll have 6 more singles to put out, which is going to be awesome. That's going to carry me through pretty much most of next year, if not the entire year. And especially if we're not able to tour next year, I hope we are. I'm trying to be as optimistic as possible, but just kind of prepping for that. It's going to allow me to still put out content all the time and still stay relevant in everybody's radar. And, same thing, I'll have new merch items come out for specific songs next year. And I'll have official videos, story behind the song videos, and other really cool content. Another thing I've been doing is trying to focus on growing my email list. And so I really try to stress for anybody who is into what I'm doing, go to my website, szlachetkamusic.com, scroll down on the homepage, and there will be a prompt where you can put in your email address, because I've been starting to put out more and more exclusive content through my email lists, along with exclusive offers through my email list. And if you want to, I've been selling advanced vinyl copies of the entire album through the email list. So you can either get on that list, or you can just send me an email at mattzlmusic@gmail.com. And we can arrange shipment and all that stuff. But if you don't have a turntable, that's okay. It comes with a download card where you can download WAV and MP3 files of the album. And there's also an exclusive documentary on the album that you can only watch if you pick up the vinyl copy. So would be definitely very thrilled to send you a copy or more copies if you want to buy some for family and friends, especially with the advent of the holidays upon us.
And how do you see this affecting you on the road when you can get back out there?
Well, that's still the great uncertainty right now. It's really hard to speculate on all of this. I wish I could say that, we were going to start touring again within the first few months of next year. But, given everything I've read about pandemics and the information that people are saying, pandemics normally run a traditional 2-year course, and so I hope I can tour next spring. I hope I can tour next summer. I hope I can start finally getting out there and doing live shows again, particularly with a band, because there's just some really great rockers on this album that I cannot wait to play live for people and really stretch the legs from performance standpoints and work out extended jams that we didn't work out for the album, where we were specifically saving them for live shows. I still am greatly affected by this, and, I'm going to have to keep doing the live Facebook shows and working on a couple other things right now as well. We'll get that going in a little bit. But right now it's still strictly virtual, unfortunately, but like I said before, I still feel fortunate that we have that capacity right now to stay connected, even if it's not in person. The virtual connection thing is huge, especially just from a mental standpoint of knowing that you're reaching people and people are responding and you're responding back to them. That's everything, and it really warms my heart to know that I help people keep going, and in return, those people help me go a long way as well, and like I said before, I've just felt like a real strong sense of responsibility for these Facebook live shows because of that sense of community, because of that connection. And at the end of the day, it's like we're in this together, and we have to remember that. And that's the only way we're going to get through this, is if we keep staying together and really, really help each other out and keep giving as much love as we can.
That's the voice of Matthew Szlachetka. I'm Steve March Torme. You are listening to August Haven Live, the virtual edition on 91.1 The Avenue. Remember to go to avenueradio.com and click on the contest tab for a chance to win a Szlachetka CD. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more in the next break. August Haven is a supporting partner of the Avenue. And now here's a song from Szlachetka.
Sunlight peeking through the window reflects the highlights in your hair. Breeze blowing through the window, smell of jasmine in the air. Though we left those days behind, you're forever on my mind. If you need to take some time, if you got something to find, I'll be right here waiting for a sign to move back into your heart. If you're out of words to say and you got to run away, I'll be right here waiting for a sign to move back into your heart. You left on Tuesday morning. Now my Mondays never end. You cut me off without warning. Now I'm missing my best friend. And though you left those days behind, can't get you off my mind. Oh, if you need to take some time, if you got something to find, I'll be right here waiting for a sign to move back into your heart. If you're out of words to say and you got to run away, I'll be right here waiting.
You are listening to the Avenue's monthly broadcast of August Haven Live, the virtual edition. I'm Steve March Torme. I'm speaking with Matthew Szlachetka, Nashville-based singer-songwriter. You are a man of many talents. You apparently know your way around the kitchen. And you also have a killer pierogi recipe. Please share.
Oh man, you're too kind. I love food, and I love to cook. Cooking is one of my ways that I really love to relax, and it's a great way too that I love spending time with people. Love to have people over for dinner, and it's just a great way to have a cocktail, make some food, put a record on, just catch up. And pierogi. It's very traditional Polish food. If you're not familiar, it's basically like a Polish dumpling or ravioli. It's, we always call it peasant food. Every culture has their peasant food where, if families, didn't have money to buy meat, they would load up on starch, starchy type foods. And, or you could also say, it's winter's coming type food, grew up making them with my family, and I have the family recipe, and it's special for me because it always is focused around community and family and a group of people making them together. In essence, you basically form kind of like an assembly line. Like you have one person that's kind of making the dough, and then one person rolling the dough, cutting out the circles, which ultimately become the casing for the pierogi, and then you got people filling them, and then kneading them and stuff, and forming the pierogi, and then you put them on kind of like drying racks, and then you boil them, and once they rise like a traditional kind of dumpling, that's when you either freeze them or you can immediately saute them in butter. And I love making pierogi. I've taught a lot of my friends how to make them, and it's just something I always eat with special times, and I always remember back just the feeling of being a kid again and eating them, because it was always special when we had them, because they are kind of time intensive, and you don't have them every day. And so when we did have them, it was always after we'd all get together and make them, and we'd have a lot of family over to eat them and stuff. So I just have nothing but fond memories with that specific food. And who doesn't love a pierogi?
And this is the basis for your show, Vinyl Recipes. What a cool concept that is. Cooking, cocktails, vinyl albums, live performance, and conversation with friends. Please tell listeners what it is and how they can watch.
Yeah, so that's pretty much how Vinyl Recipes came about, from my love of cooking, cocktails, being a huge record collector and a huge record lover my entire life, and just loving music, loving playing music, loving being able to be an artist and being able to perform for a living. I feel so fortunate and blessed for that, But the basic concept of the show is the guest that comes over is, either an artist, musician, producer, at least right now until the show grows even more, but either I, they, or we make a dish or a cocktail that we're known for, or we learn something new together. And then in terms of albums, we pick an album that collectively changed both of our lives. So you get the backstory in the album, musicology, the history, anything else surrounding that realm right there. And then at the end of the show, we perform a song off of that album. And so once it gets up and running even more, the idea is to tie even more of the community aspect with the show, where, we'd show you, what farmer's market or butcher or supermarket or liquor store we'd go to get supplies for the meal. We talk about, our favorite record shops in town, go pick a record out for the episode, and so it just ties all that in together. In a nutshell, the theme of the show is, the perfect recipe for a great evening, and once again, it just really, really touches on human connection and how important that is, and friendship and camaraderie. And right now, we had a teaser episode that came out back in April through Diddy TV. They're a network out of Memphis, Tennessee that I've partnered with. And we're just trying to figure out how to film more episodes right now. Obviously, due to COVID, it's not exactly the safest time to get a large group of people together. But we're trying to figure out, by talking to a couple of different tech companies, using some other technology to kind of create possibly a live experience with it, or a remote kind of filming aspect where we can film remote and then, have somebody else edit. And also talking to some sponsors about coming in so we can kind of get it off the ground even more and get it underwritten, so that way we can start cranking out more content and more episodes for everybody. Because, especially if touring is something that isn't going to happen for a while, I hope it happens sooner than later. This will be a great way to still stay connected and still really pump out a lot of great content for people, and still, feel like I'm moving forward. So to use the dreaded P word of 2020, that's been one of my main pivots for this year. And it's taken a lot of time just to kind of get it formulated and, get it off the ground. So I feel like we're even closer right now. Still have a little ways to go, but sooner than later, we'll be getting it out for everybody. In the meantime, I've got a Facebook and Instagram page up for it. There's some teasers out. You can go to vinylrecipes.net and make sure that you like the page on Instagram and Facebook, and we'll be connected.
You're listening to 91.1 The Avenue's August Haven live broadcast, the virtual edition, with special guest Matthew Szlachetka. I'm SMT. Stick around. We've got more August Haven live coming up. Remember to go to avenueradio.com and click on the contest tab for a chance to win a CD. August Haven is a supporting partner of The Avenue. Now here's something from Szlachetka.
Well, I'm out on the road again, traveling far away distances. 3,000 miles makes it hard to remember my name. Dead dog on the side of the road, wondering if he had a place to go. 5,000 miles ahead, will I still be the same? I'll never forget you, love. Your smile just brings me home. I'll never forget you, love. You're back where I belong. I'll never forget you, love. Your patience proves you strong. I'll never forget your home to me. Sun going down on a back roads highway. Sooner or later she'll be with me someday. 7,000 miles for strangers to me now. Cool dark winds blow through the desert. Sand and dust rise and get a race with the night. I have you with me, but I still have a question. 10,000 miles, will I make it out this time? I'll never forget you, love. Your smile just brings me home. I'll never forget you, love. You're back where I belong. I'll never forget you, love. Your patience proves you strong. I'll never forget your home to me.
You are listening to 91.1 The Avenue. I'm Steve March Torme. This has been our special broadcast, August Haven Live, the virtual edition. And we are back one last time with Matthew Szlachetka. So Matthew, since March, you've been giving fans a peek into your woodshedding practice. And for listeners who may not be familiar with that, please explain what that is.
Ha! I love it. Woodshedding is a term that musicians use for spending quality, intimate time with your instrument where you can just kind of shut out the outside world and just work on new stuff, brush up on old stuff, and just, woodshed new material and get better and better and more proficient with your instrument. And I've had way more time over the past 7 months to do that, which I've been so fortunate for. That's definitely been another one of the silver lining moments of being quarantined and not being able to tour. But it's been great, putting out those guitar videos because it sounds kind of weird, but I mean, there still were a lot of people that didn't really know that, I had such a focus with guitar. So I've been able to pick up more guitar students by doing this. I've been able to pick up more session work by doing this. And I've been doing, every Wednesday, a Woodshed Wednesday video. So make sure if you haven't liked the Facebook page yet, do so. Facebook.com/Szlachetka Music. I also put those out on my Instagram page, which is the same handle. And, stay tuned for crazy guitar videos every Wednesday.
So you've tackled songs from Hendrix, Tom Petty, Led Zeppelin, John Coltrane, Black Crowes, Dire Straits, just to name a few. It's a great way for fans to learn a little bit about your musical tastes, and your enthusiasm for the music you share is really great fun to watch.
Yeah, it's been amazing to have this time to either learn songs that I had always wanted to learn but never had time, or learn songs that people request, so it's great. I mean, it's made me a better musician over the past 7 months, and it's nice to kind of get outside of your own box sometimes too and just learn other people's sensibilities for songwriting, and especially for whether it's a song or even just learning a solo from somebody else's song or another guitar player, or even, a sax or trumpet player. I mean, there's so many different sensibilities that come with different instruments, and it's been such a amazing opportunity to actually have that time again to do that. I mean, I honestly can't remember being able to practice this much this year. It's probably since like high school or college to where I was able to, have this much time to practice. So I'm definitely very thankful for that. And, I definitely have a wide variety of artists and bands that I've always loved. I guess it's definitely reflective in my music. Sometimes, I can have some songs that are kind of all over the board style wise. But, I've always thought, especially if I throw those songs into one of my shows, whether it's a Facebook Live or even, whenever I would play solo acoustic shows or full band shows, the covers that I would throw in, I always would try to steer towards deeper cuts on albums. I wouldn't do like more of like the smash hits that a lot of people would recognize more from different bands or artists. Or, if I did do those songs, I would always try to make them mine. And that's my biggest thing. When I practice a song, sometimes I'll just practice it all day. I'll learn it on electric, I'll learn it on acoustic, I'll learn like a finger style version where I try to incorporate the melody into what I'm playing, just so you learn every aspect of it. And from that, I always would try to shape it in a way that I would want to play it, or if I was writing that song, like how would I play that? And so I just kind of take it and add my little twist to it, which is always so fun. And it's so fun too to just kind of make a song that you love even more personal with your own interpretation of it. So, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and another reason to make sure you watch the Facebook Live shows, because I take requests whether they're originals or covers. So throw them my way. It's once again, it's a great way that I've been able to stay accountable, and it's a great way to stay mentally pushed musically during this time frame. So thank you guys so much.
Can you leave us one of those Woodshed songs? We've had a special request for you to do a Mississippi John Hurt song, so please tell us what you're going to play.
All right, here's one of my favorite songs by Mississippi John Hurt. The song is called Spike Driver Blues.
Take this hammer and carry it to the captain. Tell him I'm gone. Tell him I'm gone. Tell him I'm gone. Take this hammer and carry it to the captain. Tell him I'm gone. Tell him I'm gone. I'm sure he's gone. This is the hammer that killed John Henry, but it won't kill me. But it won't kill me. But it won't kill me. This is the hammer that killed John Henry, but it won't kill me. But it won't kill me. Ain't gonna kill me. It was a long way from East Colorado, hunted to my home, hunted to my home, hunted to my home. It was a long way from East Colorado, hunted to my home, hunted to my home. That's where I'm going. John Henry, he left his hammer on the side of the road, on the side of the road, on the side of the road. John Henry, he left his hammer all over the red, all over the red. That's why I'm gone. John Henry was a steel driving man, but he went down, but he went down, but he went down. John Henry was a steel driving man, but he went down, but he went down, and that's why I'm gone.
We want to thank everyone for tuning in, and thank you to our sponsor, August Haven. August Haven has created this unique event which will continue in person as usual once it's safe to do so again. Thanks to everyone at August Haven for their support of both the Avenue and the musicians that we feature in these broadcasts. During these times, it means more than ever. August Haven is a supporting partner of The Avenue.